Hey guys, I am so excited for you to see this transformation for this nursery makeover. It is long overdue. For reference, we did this room 2 years ago. The baby that we did this room for is now our 2.5-year-old. So it's been a while, but the room still looks exactly the same as it did back then. So it's still very, very relevant. But regardless, I am still so excited for you to see this transformation because it is huge. Watching back, like as I've been editing this and seeing what the room used to look like, just blows my mind. I kind of forgot about that the bright orange walls and the border around the top. It's just insane. So definitely stick around until the end to see what this room looks like when we finish it up because it's crazy.
We're gonna be rolling.
Yeah.
You're wasting time.
You just gotta do one coat.
No.
After this?
There's one problem we need another.
No.
We needed 3 coats in the living room.
That's because I didn't brush it. This is basically a coat.
So we need 2 more coats.
Nah, I don't think so.
Yes. I think so.
So to give you an idea of kind of my thought process going into this. So obviously it's a nursery, but my biggest thing is I did not want it to scream nursery because the thing about babies is that they're not going to be babies forever. And I did not want to have to come in here and redo this room completely in a few years when my baby's not a baby anymore. So that was like the biggest thing coming into it. But I also, just from like a design standpoint, I guess, I really wanted it to be like kind of earthy, and this room kind of jump-started my love for green, and that's why we went for a green on this wall, and I love the way the green turned out, and we're going to be doing a lot to this wall. I knew I wanted this wall to be kind of like a statement piece, which you'll see here in a bit what we do to it, because I knew that this wall was going to be where his crib goes and likely where his future bed goes because this room is very small and it's the only room or the only wall that makes sense to have a bed or a crib against.
Is this your nursery? So you're getting too big for your bassinet. Gotta get your crib set up. Yeah. What do you think? You love it?
That's not a 45.
It's not working.
Should just go off of this.
That's what I wanted to use in the first place. And you're like, no, just use the laser.
Start over! Rip them all off. Better to nail on the wall and you move the level You have your marker in there. You're gonna repaint the wall anyways.
You can see it.
Oh my god. Right there.
So basically, if you can see, it's kind of faint, but we drew the wall out with marker. Now, the reason I used marker, couple things. As you just saw, we tried using tape. I hate using painter's tape, and it was such a pain in the butt, and we were having a ton of issues with our laser level, and it was just getting frustrating. So instead, we used one of these, I guess they're just called long levels, whatever. We set it to 45 degrees, and then we traced that with a marker. The second reason I used marker is because I knew I would be covering it up when we put the boards up, and then I'm gonna be painting the board, so I can just touch up any paint that I need to cover up the marker. But anyways, we went through and took the long level, and we started with the middle. Let me try to get it here. The middle mountain. So the one that's going to be sitting in the front, and then we gauged everything off of that. So we have, if you'll see, like Nick drew our solid lines, and then all of these little squiggles that you see, that was just to help him know what side the board was going on. So the board will be covering up those squiggles. But we started with that one, drew it out of 45, and then all of our gaps, we went in increments of 4. 4s seemed like a good place to be. So these boards will be 4 inches apart. And then these bigger gaps that you see, so like over here, this is 8 inches. And then this big one is 12. So we did 4, 8, 12. I just felt like that would help it be more symmetrical. So we drew it all out. Nick is getting his saw set up. He's gonna cut all the boards, and then we'll get the boards put up, and then we'll finish this off. It has been a couple days. We ran into a couple hiccups with the wall. Nothing major. We fixed it. Everything's fine. Took us a little bit longer than we were hoping. Luckily, this hiccup wasn't an expensive one. It didn't really cost us any money. It just took us extra time. So basically what happened is when we put that caulking on, we put it on a little bit too thick, and we didn't smooth it out as good as we should have, which it wasn't really noticeable before we painted the boards. But once we got paint on the boards, it really stuck out and you could see it. So we took a little bit extra time, took a little bit extra elbow grease, went through, scraped off the caulking that was here, and smoothed it all out, and it looks so much better. And another issue that we had is Nick had thought that we could just use some of that caulking to fill in the nail holes from the pin nails that we put into the boards to hold it to the wall. But the thing with caulking is you can't sand it because it's like a silicone. And so you could just see, like, you could just tell where that was on the board. It just wasn't a smooth finish. It just wasn't up to my standards. So we went through and we sanded all of that caulking off as well and put a fresh new coat of paint on the boards. And so now that there's a new coat of paint on here, I can see where those pinhole nails are and where they're sticking out. So I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna fill in those holes properly, and then hopefully this will just need one more coat of paint. And then we have some other little touching up to do on like the side white walls where we got some of that green paint on, and we should be good to go with this wall. I use spackle to fill the holes in. And the nice thing about spackle is it comes right off with water. So instead of having to go through and sand it all again and possibly take off some of the paint and have it be extra coats of paint, you can just take a damp rag and wipe over top of it and it'll take that excess off. You just don't want to like scrub it because then you're going to start taking the spackle out of the actual hole. But this takes off the excess. Once we were finished up with all the painting and the accent wall, we came in and added all of the final touches, which is my favorite part. We added some bookshelves and we added a name sign that had some hooks on it to hang some of Maverick's things. My parents actually made that sign and those bookshelves. And then we swapped out the ceiling fan. We had to add that plate to the ceiling because there was a giant hole in the ceiling from the inset light that was there before, and we went with just a basic black ceiling fan. And we added a ton of other touches that you'll see in the after footage. But before I show you that footage, let me bring you back to what this room looked like at the start. It was orange. It had that border around the top. I don't even know what those stencils were, but it was just an orange box, basically. And I am so in love with how this turned out, and I'm still so in love with it now 2 years later.